Hello, Massimo, and welcome to the Any Grief Goes podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited for today to talk and see what happens.
I'm really excited to have you. In fact, Massimo, you are my very first guest.
Oh,
So,
it's exciting times. Thank you.
yeah,
Means a
this is
lot.
brilliant. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Massimo Peluso. I'm 24, in my early 20s. Um, I am a graduate of psychology and sociology, and I work for a charity. So yeah, quite a mixture of stuff, and I enjoy filmmaking and acting, things like that. So yeah,
Cool,
different hats.
excellent. And we met on TikTok, which
Yep.
I'm loving TikTok. TikTok is quite a nice, authentic expression of lots of different people, so I'm quite enjoying it.
Yeah, same. Likewise.
So, obviously, this is a grief podcast, so tell me a little bit more about what type of grief and the circumstances that we are going to be discussing today.
Yeah, sure. So for me, it's bereavement of my grandmother. And although it's particularly bereavement, alongside that, there's been different facets, different elements of my life that I've been grieving. So for example, my childhood, leaving a job, it all kind of coincided with that. So it was kind of bad timing. But yeah, so I was really close with my grandmother. I always like describe it, and I've always said this, as like a second mother, like mother, son dynamic. She was always there. I could always rely on her. So although it wasn't really sudden, nevertheless, it was still very challenging for me. So, and I think it definitely, that's probably the first type of bereavement I had like that. I've had others when I was younger, but as I was younger, I didn't really understand it. But with this, obviously, with adult mind, you think of a variety of different things. You have an adult mindset on things, and it does make it hard. But trying to power through, basically.
Yeah, and how long's it been?
It has been, I believe, 5 months. It'll be coming up to 5 months.
Gosh,
Yeah,
so there's
so it's
still
still,
time.
yeah, it's like in the middle. It kind of feels like ages ago, but then it feels like just yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And what can you share her name? I like to honour people with their names.
yeah, sure. Well, it's a little bit longer than mine actually, and some people struggle to say it, but it's Anu Shatta, which is her
And you
official
share
name. But then people just called her like Nancy, things like that. Just I'm not sure where it came from, but she loved it, and that was much easier to say. A lot of people
them.
struggle to say it, but she didn't mind too much. That's just the sort of person she was.
Well, I'm thinking of her throughout this podcast.
Thank you.
So you're obviously very close. Um, how do you think your life has changed since the loss of your grandma?
Well, I try to look at the change in a positive way. I mean, obviously it's hard from time to time, but I've definitely become closer with my family. We speak way more about our emotions. We speak about, which I didn't think would happen, but we speak about my nan very openly. So we don't shy away from that, which we may have done for previous people. Like we would only mention it like out of fluke. But now we actually purposely speak about it. We'll speak about it for a long time. Like we had a conversation yesterday with a few of my family members, and we would like go back and forth and talk about memories we have, funny moments, good moments. So I think that is something I really cherish now. It's sad that we didn't kind of do that sooner, maybe kind of speak a little bit more about things like that. And it's made me my outlook on life has completely changed. So I think about death probably daily now. I probably cry daily, but at least weekly. I don't mind saying that. So yeah, it's completely changed my outlook on life, where I don't, the sort of small things in life that would take over my mind have kind of just taken a back seat. And I just think to myself, well, it's not even that important. So like a job, I'm stressing in a job, it's not going to matter in a month's time. But if you lose a family member, like if you prioritize work over family events, your job will always be there, but your family member won't. So I think it's made me realize that priority, you have to prioritize what's important in life, and things like jobs it isn't. So yeah, family time is taking number one for me now, and to lean into those moments even more so, and spend time with the older family relatives. and cherish it. It's definitely, yeah, made me realise that.
It's really interesting you said that, because the other day I was sort of posed a question on social media about, if you know that you're going to die, or if you've experienced death and you know that life definitely ends and it's much more concrete to you, does that change the way you embrace life or the way you live? And you're clearly saying, yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and I would think about death before, like here and there. I'll just find myself. I'll be like, oh yeah, like kind of like you're so like just in the motion of life that you kind of forget. Like, oh, actually, like we all kind of do. Does happen to all of us. Um, but I'm not scared of it really. I mean, it it's the what if, like what, like the unknown is a bit scary, but I'm quite comforted by it. Like I think talking about it makes it normal, it takes that pain away, takes that fear away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we're all in it together, I guess. We're all got each other's back.
I love that you're talking about it, and I love that you feel that your family has actually got closer, and you're talking about your grandmother, because so many people don't do that. And this is why I like to ask people the name of the person they've lost, because sometimes that person can kind of disappear. People don't ask after them anymore, or you stop talking
Yeah,
about them. But I love that you're sharing memories. And is that is that a way that you're using to heal? Do you think that's healing all of your family?
yeah, definitely. I think it's trying to change, not consciously, but it does change our outlook on like trying to change the negative into a positive. I think, and try to not think of, just automatically think of the bad. Like, oh, the funeral, or the day of, and leading up to, it's like more just her life and the good times. And because although, like, death is such a short period of time of, she was alive to like 96, so it's such a really small tiny chapter. It takes up the whole, you like, that's all you think about. So I think it's trying to change your perspective and know that there is a whole life that you lived with this person. Holidays together, Christmas, birthdays, and the laughs and the tears and the sadness, and them being there, and all of that, it needs to be remembered. And I think, yeah, it's legacy as well. It's like trying to, because people always say, like, most people don't remember the names of their great 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 grandparents, or even great great. um so I think it's trying to keep that legacy going, and yeah. And I think it definitely, it takes the pain away. I think it makes people just heal, and yeah, think of it differently ultimately.
And I love that you said that, because I when I'm coaching people, I always try and get people to think about the wider lifespan, because grief is so hard that they do just focus on the end bit. Maybe it was a
Yeah,
traumatic death, or just because that's the really hard bit, that's what people focus on. But you're right. In your case, you had 96. She had 96 amazing
yeah.
years, and you had
It's insane.
24 with her. And
Yeah.
I think that's, you're right. Savoring those moments, I think, is really key. But did it take you long to get to this point where you can look fondly at memories? Because sometimes that can take a long time to get to the point that you're at, to think of the memories with more fondness than pain.
Yeah. It took me months, but I mean, yeah, grieving is like, bereavement is not linear, so it's like you're up and down. Like, some days, this is the truth, some days I may not think about her at all, because I'm so
Mm.
busy and occupied in my own life. Some days, that's all I think about. That's the first thing I think about in the morning. So it's taken time, and it does take time, but it's not it's not a straightforward process. It's not like, you know, you get the experience, you get the job, you go for the interview, you get the job, and that's done. It's not like that at all, as we like to think about. Like, a lot of things are in life, but that is completely different. And so it does
Mm.
take time, but I still have those periods and emotions and feelings of guilt, of anger, of denial, a lot of denial. So it does come and go, but it has taken time. Yeah, yeah, definitely. It takes time, months.
And obviously, talking about it has been quite a positive thing for you. Do you notice any other kind of practices or rituals or ways that you intentionally go about coping with grief? Any coping mechanisms?
Yeah, definitely. I think listening to like songs that were played at the funeral, or just songs that I know she liked, or like because we have Italian, I'm Italian basically, so that's our background. So any Italian songs, I just automatically just think of the times that we spent in Italy in the summer. Um, yeah, talking is the main one. Talking about memories, because like even yesterday we were speaking about a memory that I never heard of. So there's always moments like that where you hear stuff you've never heard. It's like, oh, what? I didn't know that. But then also like I let my mind wander sometimes. So like I'll have something that will trigger a memory that I forgot, that's in my subconscious, that I forgot I had. I'm like, oh yeah, I did like such a small thing, that like just a mannerism that she had, or something, just yeah, something that she used to do. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't believe that happened actually. I also, like watch old videos and photos that back up photos. Just like a marathon of like little the discs we have, and really
Yeah,
old tapes and things like that, and photos. I've seen so many photos I've never seen before. I'm like, oh, it's like such a shame, isn't it? Because you think like you could have like it takes something like this, an event like this, to like see all this and show and kind of see what an impact one person can have. So I think that's like one thing I really recommend to people. Like it shouldn't take a bereavement to, or the passing of someone, to show appreciation and be open and speak and show photos. Like it should just be a common practice. Like get together with your family, let's see videos together, and just look at the past. Appreciate that.
yeah, yeah. You're so right. I think it's really common that when some people die, it's like you're really, really close to that person, but there's so much that you don't know. Um,
Yep,
and
yep, definitely.
and if you're constantly finding things out after death, I think that's kind of it's nice, isn't it? But it's kind of bittersweet. It must kind of feel like maybe
Yeah,
that's something you want to talk to her about.
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I've found myself like that. I'm like, oh, like I wish I knew that sooner, so we could have spoke about that. Like I would have loved to have known more about that. I could have asked her that. But that's one of the unfortunate things about it. And being new to things, you can't beat yourself up about things that you have no knowledge or have no life experience on. Your experience, a lot of people have to experience something for the first time at one point. So of course, yeah, I'll know for next time, but I still have the memories, as I say, so I can't be too harsh on myself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that a lot of people. I think there's a service now. There's a couple of services probably where you can, when someone's getting older, you can like create their life story and then have that as like a legacy, family legacy. And I always think, oh, I wish that I would have done that for my for my
Yeah, oh,
parents.
it's the worst
It's-
feeling, isn't it? But I think something I do really want to do. I mean, I already did ancestry.com, so I looked at just where, very briefly, but like my DNA and like kind of where we come from. But something I really want to do, because I've seen it on their YouTube channel, is like a deep dive, actually looking at your family tree, like having this is a photo of X person that you never knew was related to, or like a famous person you're related to, or this is their story, like of their struggle. Because I think we forget that, okay, maybe a picture you may see, a name, or even you can just imagine like, okay, a great grandparent, but like you forget there's ambitions, dreams, fears, a whole job, a life like that they had that you know nothing about. So yeah, that's something I definitely want to do, is do a deep dive with like
okay,
my ancestry, see that.
is that what the deaths kind of inspired you to do?
Yeah, I mean I've always wanted to do, I mean I did my ancestry a few years ago, but more so definitely to see. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think there's in kind of like more spiritual kind of responses to grief. Sometimes people have like an altar to their ancestors, and they kind of recognize that all the gifts that their ancestors that gave to them that have come down the line, and also the grief. Grief can come down, and you could carry the grief from your grandmother or somebody else, and that can be quite a big thing for people. And doing that kind of research can be really helpful for people to heal more and with their grief. So I think
Yeah,
that's a
I
really
think so.
interesting thing. Yeah,
I think so. Also,
it's
what I found with myself as well is I not just family, but also like my town. Like I'll look back because there's a Facebook page where like you look back on like photos before and after, like 100 years ago. And so I'm quite, I don't know if it is, I think it is obviously a coping mechanism, but I, I'm quite tied up to the past. So I'm not sure if that's like a way of me like struggling to let go of the past. But yeah, I like to see like, what my town used to look like 100 years ago, what my road used to look like, what this person looked 100 years ago, what the clothes were. So I'm kind of diving into history a bit as well, like past my family. So I think that is a mechanism, one of the mechanisms I've been using.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean because I think that some people find that I don't know, it's like holding on to the person, but I don't think it's an unhealthy way of holding on to somebody at all.
Yeah.
In fact, you can reframe that and have it as like a beautiful way, as a continued bond, a continued connection with her. Um, yeah, would you say that legacy is important then? That legacy of something, or like a town maybe that you've been grieving that you haven't been to, or your grandmother. You think that's important to preserve
yeah,
it?
yeah, I think so because, and also as well, I actually forgot to say, I look back on Google Maps as well. I love my house, so like it'll show
Mm.
you like your house from like now to like 2009, 2006. And so yeah, I think it's like, I look and I see like, what were we up to then, or like what cars did we have or whatever, So I look back and yeah, I think it is. I think it's also just to like pretend in my mind that I'm like there. It's like
Right.
delusion a little bit, but I think for a second, like just for a minute, I'm like, oh, I'm there, and then I have to like snap myself out of it. I'm like, oh, actually, I'm not. But yeah, I think it is. I think
Yeah.
it is what you said. Um,
But that's, yeah, I love that actually. I think that's a really nice way to keep connections to things, and um, like who you are, who your family is, your
yeah,
culture, your heritage, everything. I think that's kind of nice. Yeah. Um,
thanks.
so obviously you've talked about grief being completely linear. There's one day that you're doing okay, and other days you're not doing okay. Thank you for saying about the crying, because obviously as a male, that is difficult for some guys to admit and have to cope with. Um, how do you manage those kind of more difficult, more overwhelming days?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like a pattern what I've been saying, but definitely lean into those emotions, feel those emotions. Don't be scared of them. I mean, I used to like yeah, I used to just like cry in my room kind of thing, but now like I don't care crying in front of my family. I don't care. I'm like, what am I hiding? Like everyone cries. Like it's
Yeah.
not that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely difficult days. I mean, take it easy. I listen to my body. So if I'm at home or it's the weekend, then I nap, I sleep. I don't. I used to like, oh, you can't nap, but no, it's fine. That's your body. I drink. Make sure I drink my water. Make sure I go for walks because I get cooped up inside sometimes. And I'm like, actually, let's just go for a walk. It's such a simple thing. Um, yeah, I just listen to my body and my mind as well, and just because there's obvious signs when you're tired, when you're thirsty, when you're just mentally drained, or you need to speak with someone. I think it's pretty clear for me, at least.
What's great is actually that you're responding to that, because I know that some people don't. I know that I certainly ignore a lot of those signs when I'm grieving, and I just kind of sit back
Yeah,
and wallow in it, and then it makes everything a whole lot worse. And I could have just gone for the walk, and I wouldn't have been in this deep hole. But yeah, how is that hard to do? Tell us about how easy that is, or do you just do it, or do you have to force yourself to do
a bit of both, I think. I mean, admittedly I don't always listen. I try to, but I
it?
don't always listen, and then I'll lash out or like like react in an angry manner like to my family and things, and then it'll happen. I'll go to my room or whatever, and then it'll settle, and then I'm like, that could have been all avoided if I just said why I was frustrated, or that something was on my mind, or you know just be easy on me today or something. It's something as simple as that. But it's never easy. I mean, I have to force myself. Like sometimes it's easier to sit indoors and go for a walk, of course, especially in this heat. Like in the summer heat sometimes. But yeah, I definitely have to force myself. And sometimes I'm like, nope, get out of bed. No, I'm kind of like two people in my mind sometimes. I've got this person that wants to like just wallow, and then the other person, like, come on, no, you can do it. Like, yeah, just like encouraging me. But yeah, it takes time, and it isn't easy to to say it's easy. That would be a complete lie.
Yeah, that forcing, it's a really hard thing to do, isn't it? But yeah, so well done, well done for doing that.
So thank you. Yeah, no, it is hard.
I mean, obviously, you're coming across as being very clear about communication, being very clear about getting your needs across. But do you ever feel like, in the grief that you're experiencing, because obviously all grief is unique, is there anything that you feel like you wish other people would understand about how you're experiencing it or how to respond to you?
Yeah, I think just know that each person deals with it differently. Everyone reacts differently, and I don't think anyone in my family is judgmental towards that. I just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just overall, just everyone, just that I feel things quite hard. So, one thing could be quite a breeze for me, and then the next, which normally would be a breeze, but one thing after the other has just thrown me off completely. So knowing that, like I got to get stuff out, I got to express myself, I got to say things, because I always have a rule where if you don't, if it still bothers you after 48 hours, say something, because it's just going to fester in your mind, and then it's going to come out in unhealthy ways, and just you're going to lash out. So yeah, I think so. Just that my emotions can be quite heightened sometimes. So I think just understanding that sometimes, not that I'm, like really angry all the time, but just sometimes I could be a little bit moody and things like that, and it's kind of
Yeah,
obvious why and things like that. So yeah.
yeah, of course. And do you find it different? So obviously your family are understanding. Have you had to explain anything to your relationships outside of the family? Has it been different?
um, just about just about what I've
Yeah,
been
just the
experiencing, or
grieving
like my
process.
emotions and everything.
Yeah.
um no, everyone's been really understanding. I mean, I think the thing I've noticed is people give have been giving me space, which is something I would do for other people, and that's something I respect. I mean, you want to like jump to the rescue and message and things like that, but that can be very, just overwhelming, and it's something you don't really need to see. You don't need your phone pinging and things like that. But yeah, people are understanding. I think a lot of people have experienced bereavement in some way or another, so they understand. A lot of people I know, friends, have like lost grandparents, even a couple like parents and things, so they completely understand, um, and know that I have to go through it, and are always there. They just message me from time to time saying like, "We are here. Like, just message me if you need anything," and they rightfully will. Like, they will. They're not just saying it as an open comment. They actually will. So yeah, I mean, I will always go to my family first. My family are like my everything, and I will go to them because I know I can be vulnerable with them and speak about anything, and know I'm not going to be judged, or know that it's not going to like be spread or anything like that. So yeah, my family are my rock, really. So
Yeah, that's really nice. Because it's so hard, isn't it, when you're grieving? You don't know how much to tell somebody, how vulnerable you can be. It's hard to judge, I think, different people because I mean, I know it's the experience of other people. You're obviously having a pretty good experience, but sometimes even really good friends just completely disappear, and then sometimes it can leave you wondering, okay, well, who can I who can I talk to this about? Who can I tell? Um, so it's
yeah,
amazing that you're getting such a supportive response.
thank you. Yeah, I think it just goes back to what I was saying. How obviously your family will always understand, um, especially if like if you lose someone, then you've all lost someone. Whereas your friends can only kind of draw into their own experience, as opposed to actually understanding specifically your experience right now. So yeah, I think going to your family is always going to be the number one thing, and know that there's no real judgment. But yeah, as I said before, like I know that I don't really care anymore about judgment from my family. Like, in terms of like, if I cry, I cry. I've cried so many times. Or if I like, just show overshare. Sometimes I'm a bit, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. But then I'm like, actually, you know what? You know why? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they're probably going to forget, and they didn't really care. So, and they helped you out, didn't they? So, what's the issue? So that's what I always think. Because I always think, like, when I overshare, I'm always helped, because like
Yeah,
it's something such a big thought in my mind, but then they like break it down for me, because you always need a second opinion, different perspective. Don't always just stay in your mind, and they'll give you a simple solution, and you're like, oh, I didn't think of that. Why did I not think of that? So yeah, I think it's always good to.
I always say just say it because other people will completely normalize it because other people might be thinking the same thing, or just get it out, normalize it, validate it, because it's so important to witness people's experience. Yeah, and I absolutely love that you're getting that. I think it's brilliant. Um, has it has is that has that surprised you? Is that something about grief that surprised you, being able to be more kind of vulnerable or be more confident with your emotions?
I think so. I mean, overall, it's taken so much time. I mean, when I was like 16 or 17, I would never, I would bottle it up. And that wasn't a reflection of my family dynamic or unit, because I would have like my sister who I would go to. But I think it was more just, I was scared to be vulnerable in case it backfired. But
Mm.
yeah, it's definitely taken time. And I think it definitely has surprised me, um, because it's actually made me even more open than I thought I was. So that
Yeah.
is something that's surprised me. I was like, oh, okay, actually, I'm a little bit more open. And
Okay.
yeah, it's completely just, it kind of like just pulled a rug from under me, and it's completely changed. A lot of, there's a lot of sad and bad, but there is a lot of good points and change that has happened from it. So I'm kind of, in a way, thankful, um, because it's opened doors for other topics of discussion. But just discuss, like, just be more vulnerable in other situations. It doesn't have to just be exclusive to bereavement. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm more vulnerable about like issues and struggles and stresses I have at work, and I talk about that. So I think it has surprised me a bit.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Because I think, I don't know, I think vulnerability. I think we can spend so long thinking it's a weakness, and then something happens, and we realise that it's actually a strength.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think also, as you said, like, it's just this, like, narrative with like men and things. Like, I
Mm.
still see nowadays, like, just people saying like, oh, like, you shouldn't cry, be a man, and all these things. Like, I mean, I know it's not like a massive struggle, like, compared to like what women face and things like that, but I mean, it is still an issue. It is an issue, and um, I have definitely seen discussions more publicly, which is great. So I
Mm.
think that's the main thing, going towards that, um, knowing that you're never really alone, and even if that experience is exclusive to you, someone will have probably a similar something that they can draw upon, hopefully, and just, but even just not even so, like, just to talk with you, just to be a lending hand and just to listen, because sometimes people are so quick, they want to give solutions, and but some people just want to rant. They just want to let it all out and speak, and that's the main thing. Some people are so quick. I'm guilty of this sometimes as well, just quick to just give a solution. Like, oh, okay, oh, I think you should, oh, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. Like, that's not what some people need. Sometimes you just need to. I saw this, I think it was a tweet actually, they were like, this husband will always ask his wife, so she'll come in, and she'll say something, like something that's happened, and he's like, okay, do you want a solution, or do you want me just to listen? I think
Yeah.
that's so important in a healthy relationship, and yeah,
Yeah.
it needs to be done more often.
Yeah, I think especially when it comes to grief, it's a really interesting. I'd be interested to know your personal opinion. Has that bothered you when people have come back with a solution, or have you been okay with it?
Yeah, it has bothered me when I don't want a solution. Like, I'm just like, some people in my family, I mean, they've definitely got better. Like, I'll just say something, and like they'll be like, well, you should have done this, or you should. I'm like, I don't want a solution, thanks. I just want
Yeah.
to speak about it, and then I'll say that. But yeah, I mean, it has been something that I've had to adjust to. I mean, no one likes criticism or pointing fingers, but sometimes you do have to listen and take it on board. And sometimes I may listen. Sometimes I'll just, okay, I just wanted to hear your perspective, but I probably won't take it on. And sometimes I will take it on in the moment. On thirdly, I'll just sleep on it and then take it on later. I'm actually, give me a couple of days, and then I'll probably listen and actually take on what you said, actually, because it's maybe because my ego got in the way a bit. I was a bit like what you're saying is trying to like sound wrong and all these things, these labels, and
Yeah.
I'm actually, no, let's just disregard that, and actually they're trying to help you. So yeah, it's been difficult, but I'm trying to just get rid of those, like, just those labels, really.
I think people are so desperate to not see somebody in pain, or because we don't talk about death or bereavement very much, then I don't think people are always versed in what to say. They don't know how to say, so they're like, oh, quick, let's just help, let's just do something. So I think that's I think it's a normal response from people, but it can be hurtful, and then you have to be polite back, or you have to figure
Yeah,
out a way to, which you've done, obviously, to say, "Oh, I'll think about it."
yeah. It's taken time though. I mean, I used to be terrible when I was like teenager, early
Yeah,
adult. I would not listen at all. But now I'm like, I hold my hands up, and it's quite liberating when you say, I know it's slightly off topic, but when you hold your hands up and say I'm wrong, or you say like, okay, maybe I should listen, because you don't know it all. People, you need other perspectives and you need other points of views, um, and sometimes you can be very biased in your life, so you need that outlet, and yeah, to get that feedback, really.
yeah, yeah. So, okay, so tell me about kind of grieving and then living again, because I think what we're trying to do in grief is we recognize that we have grief for forever, probably, but we still need to live alongside it. We still need to figure out a way of how we're going to live with experiencing this grief. Um, can you speak a little bit about how you're managing to do that? Because obviously we've got lives, we've got jobs, we've got social lives, we've got friendships, we've got things that we've got to do. How are you finding kind of easing back into life?
It's been difficult. um it's probably not great in certain times, but I do find, for me at least, keeping busy, keep busy with the job, busy with the family, um, busy just even organizing, just doing stuff that is me, trying to reconnect with who I was before, because I feel like I have changed, but
Okay.
unfortunately that is always the case with big pivotal moments in life experiences. But I tried to just do things that I liked a year ago that maybe I stopped doing. I even do stuff. I'm trying to reconnect with stuff that I used to like, that I used to do like 10 years ago, or
Okay.
before, when I was still in school, before the big jobs came along and life massively changed. So I tried to reconnect with my younger self. Yeah, take on hobbies, or even like things that my family would do when they were younger. So like kind of feel, a slight connection there. So say for example, they like doing puzzles or something, and I'm started doing puzzles. I'm not very good at puzzles, but yeah, I can't think of an example right now. But yeah, I try to just, yeah, connect. That's like a way I feel like helps me with it, and to try and connect in that sense. I definitely think so.
Are you able to speak a little bit more about how you've changed? Because I think this is a really interesting topic to me. So when people say that they've changed after a bereavement, um, I think I have a slightly controversial opinion on it, which people don't like, because I kind of believe that the essence of us and who we are doesn't change, but our roles change and perhaps our identity needs to be adapted a little bit, but essentially we're still there. Yeah, can you
Yeah, no,
speak
I agree with
when
that.
you were talking about that? Tell me a little bit more about your perspective on that. You've changed.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, because people always say like, oh, my younger self and me, but like you're all the same person. You've just been molded and just changed, but you're still the same person. You still have the same
Mm.
interests. I feel like you're the same person at heart. So I think, and people forget that. But I'm trying to just reconnect with that, and remind myself, of that. I think definitely.
Is there anything you want to share about like a specific memory or an experience with your grandmother? Is there anything you want to share? Anything about her that you want the world to know as part of her legacy?
Um, I mean, there's so much, but I'm not sure what I want to share. But I think, just for me at least, just personal memories that I'll always remember a lot of time, because we would go to Italy quite often, and so like just the simplicity of it, the cooking the food, seeing the relatives, speaking the language, just because obviously we moved over here, and so going back there, it felt like we were like moving back, kind of like back to her
Yeah.
roots, and like just back into the swing of her life before she moved over, with her family, with her siblings, and things like that. So yeah, I will always cherish those moments, and yeah, I think one takeaway just about it is just lean into those moments. Don't be embarrassed, um, about anything. Just go, just see your family. Like, even if you have not seen them for a while, don't be embarrassed by it. Just meet up with them, because
Mm.
life is so short, and you only have so many days. Like with family members, especially elderly relatives, So because I'm trying to organise to see my granddad, because we don't always see him just because life and things like that, and he has a carer and things like that. So I'm trying to organise that to see him, because life gets so busy, and just a week goes by, the weeks go by, and you feel like, oh, like you try to plan something, and then like time passes, you're like, oh yeah, we were supposed to do that a month ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like those two takeaways that I want people to know about bereavement, and then obviously my grandma, that you know I will always cherish those memories, and I have so many memories that I've not shared that I'll always keep close to me, and yeah, I will continue to talk about her, and just
Yeah. Have you, talking about keepsakes? I don't know if you want to. Do you have like keepsakes, or do you have a way? Because there's so many people that kind of do memory boxes, or they keep a journal specifically of memories. Yeah. Is there any way that you've thought that you might do that, or just keeping her in your heart every day is?
yeah. I mean, I keep like pieces of clothing that they would wear regularly. So like my granddad, I
Okay.
got like like a fleece jumper that he wear like all the time, and it's like in all like family videos that we filmed and stuff like that. So I'll probably wear it in the winter. But I've not we've not really decided yet about things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe like jewelry. I think jewelry, piece of clothing, maybe a plant. um,
Yeah.
because me and my grandma would always that's how we would connect. It's gardening and plants and things like that. And I learned a
Okay.
lot from her. So that's probably something as well. Just it doesn't have to be really sentimental and really. It can be something so small, but it opens up a whole ton of memories that you have. So
Mm-hmm.
as simple as a book or a plant, if it helps you remember, and there's something that means something to you, then definitely hold on to that, and put it somewhere that you can remember. But we have so many photo albums that I still need to go through, so I think that's how I remember as well. But I think time will tell, and yeah, we'll see.
It's interesting, isn't it? In this day and age, when there are actual physical photos, because not many of us from our generations are going to have physical photos anymore. It's always going to be digital.
Yeah,
It's just like, oh, what do
yeah,
we do with all these? Do I digitize them? Do we just? What do we do with them? It's like it can be a lot to think about.
yeah. I've printed quite a lot actually of photos, because
Cool.
I like to have it physically. I can just look at it at any given time, and also it's just more secure having it physically than digital. Um, yeah, and I think it holds. It just it's more sentimental, and I think yeah, I prefer it that way, to have it physically. We have so many albums, so yeah, I think that's a tradition I want to carry on. Is and we need to bring it back. Print your photos. Don't just have them on your
Okay.
phone.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting actually about traditions. To bring the photo albums back and have that time and around the family. Yeah, I wonder how many people do that anymore. Are there any other
Yeah,
family
probably not.
traditions? Sorry. Have you,
No,
um,
so I said probably not as many people doing it.
no, but that is a way of connection, I think, to family and to the loved ones that have died. I think that's kind of nice to do. Do you have any kind of family traditions that you will carry on, and there'll be like a space for your grandmother there, or
Yeah, maybe I've not really thought about that actually.
I
um,
guess you,
yeah, but I think maybe like Christmas dinner. Do you know how like maybe like you save a chair kind of thing like that?
yeah.
Maybe something like that. We can do. I've not actually thought about that. That's a really good question. I probably will take that away and think about that. To try and keep traditions going. But we've kept. It's kind of answering your question, but we've kept like memorabilia and just sentimental items to her that reminds us of her job, because her job was very pivotal in her life and very meaningful in her life, and it kind of was a very meaningful in the community. So I think we've kept that. It's not really a tradition, but it's something that reminds us of a tradition of hers,
Yeah.
because it was like a, a job, quite common job within our family, and it's kind of passed down and things like that. So yeah,
Okay.
I definitely have to think about that. Take that on.
It's, you know what, it's hard, isn't it? Because when you're in that first year, um, you haven't come across these things yet, like the anniversaries, and sometimes you think
Yeah,
about them. Sometimes they creep up on you, and you don't know what to do. It's a strange thing, but yeah.
yeah, no, I agree.
I think what what I'm getting across from you more than anything is legacy. Because I haven't thought about that very much, and I think that must be different. Obviously, it's going to be different from family to family, but for you, legacy seems so important, but also it seems so strong. Um, and I want to say something a little bit about meaning, because obviously you're saying it's something that's been, there's a lot of meaning in the role that she did, and that has a lot of meaning to your family. Is is meaning, finding meaning in her actions while she was alive, does that help you to grieve?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've even heard stories from people in the community about, like, you know, her character and personality.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely has, it has helped me. Um, yeah, like, it kind of goes back to like ancestry and things, like trying to find out information. I really want to find out information I've never found out. Just even just
Yeah.
quirks or like things that, like just was her, that because obviously, I mean, I'm only 24, so a lot of her life I was not here. So I'm trying to figure that out, and I'm trying to like probe my parents and things like that, and like auntie and aunt, like other family members to be like, okay, like can I just ask like as many questions as I want, please? Just to, like, yeah,
Yeah.
as you said, like the actions and then the kind of like the legacy and like things I don't know about. I want to know, please.
I think that's an absolutely beautiful thing for you to do. And I think from what you've said about her, you're just going to uncover some really nice, heartwarming stuff. And I'm excited for you to do that because I think it'll be quite precious. And I'm
Yeah,
glad that you've got that family there that will answer your questions and you can get a really full picture of her.
yeah. And just one last thing I want to say as well
Yeah.
is, and it's probably clear from this, but like me and my family are all quite like we're really the same, but we're really different. So how we've been um, grieving has been so different. But although you may think that's isolating, that's actually quite uplifting because you may feel like you may be really affected by it. You may be feeling down every single day, but a family member, like one of my brothers, will be quite positive. Like, no, you can do it, like, uplifting. So you need that. You need people, although it's not something that's intentional. You deal with it how you deal with it. That's how you've been, nature, nurture, and all that things. But like it's good to have different people, like people dealing with it differently, because you can lean to those people in times
Yeah.
of like crisis and feeling down. Or if they're feeling down, you can, and if you're feeling uplifted or you're feeling good, then you can lift them up. So I think it's good that we're not all feeling, I won't like that. We're not all feeling the same. We're not all dealing with it the same, which I think is pretty common probably across every single family. But yeah, I think that's something that I've seen, and I'm like, actually, you know what? Sometimes I'd be like, oh, like we're so different, like in certain regards sometimes. But I'm like, actually, you know what? I'm glad we are different sometimes. But
Yeah.
especially for this case, I really appreciate that.
I really like that. You cannot underestimate the power of connection and social support when you're grieving. I think it is brilliant to seek that out if you don't have it and to communicate if you need to. Um, and yeah, so thank you for expressing that because to be able to express vulnerability and to talk about differences, I think is a really nice thing to be able to convey so other people can see that it's normal and that it's okay and it's safe to do so. Um, well, you have to choose wisely who you do it with, but you can get kind of a sense, can't you? I think when you're grieving.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Right. Okay. Massimo, thank you. Is there anything else you wanna say about grief, or any words of advice, or anything you want for anybody that's listening?
Yeah, I think just ultimately just take it easy and be easy on yourself. I mean, there's no expectation, there's no right way of doing it at all. So just take it day by day, lean into the moments that remind you of them. Try just carry on as you normally would. It's not disrespectful to do that. Just carry on as you normally would, and just communicate. I think communication is will help you a lot to make the hard days easier.
Right, words of wisdom. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Massimo. I really appreciate it.
That's okay. Thanks, Breanne. I appreciate it. Lovely conversation.